So today we're taking a look at the many different versions of Zartan that I have. So let's check them out. Normally I start out with a turntable but with this kind of it's a little hard to do with this part. But no, I'll use it when I do each individual figure, so you can get a 360 of all the different ones. Now this is not every single version of Zartan ever made. I don't have every single version. There's quite a few versions of Zartan made. And yeah, I decided to do this one because Zartan is one of my favorite G.I. Joe characters, and that's why I have quite a few of them here actually. And there's a few two that I did omit that is not actually. I'll show in the video, but they're not up right now because one's just an extra one that's already up here, and the other one's got loose legs. He don't want to stand good, so that's why I omitted those two. But so without further ado, let's begin our journey in 1984. So we start our journey in the year 1984 when version 1 of Zartan was released. This figure came in a box set with this Chameleon Swamp's gear and all them pieces, and you could have like a crate that you could put it in to kind of disguise it, like you can disguise Zartan. But unfortunately, I'm missing all those pieces, and I'm missing his two knee pads there. And unfortunately, it is the wrong chest piece. It's actually from a foreign version, but it looks pretty good on there. I actually like that a little bit better. But now disguising this figure is pretty simple. You just take his backpack right here, and you can take the mask out of his backpack like so. You can peg it back on, and you can take and put the mask inside his hood there. So now you have Zartan in disguise, which really that's not a very good disguise. I mean, he's still wearing the same outfit, just now with a different face. So not the best disguise. I mean, a lot of times you just take most kids just took and swapped out another figure and you have disguise Zartan, but that's still pretty good gimmick for back then. Now there was a second version of Zartan in the vintage line in the early 90s. I think in 92 or 93 it was part of the Ninja Force. So unfortunately I do not have that figure, and that figure was a vast departure from this first version. This first version is far superior in my opinion. So now we continue to the year 2003, I think, was it when this figure was released. Now you may be wondering, what in the world is this one? Now, if you're a collector, big G.I. Joe collector myself, you know what this is. But this is the Fun School Zartan, and this is an international release Zartan from India. And as you can see, there's quite a few different things on this version than the the standard ULS release. Like for instance, his backpack is completely different. That's the backpack that came later with Budo, I believe, and it's like a dark brown color. His hood is actually removable. If you can take and remove the hood from the figure, something you couldn't do on the US version unless you just rip it off. He also has an orange blaster there, compared to the black version that came with the US version, and his armor pieces are not don't have the see-through panels like the US version does. And this figure does not have the color changing gimmick like the US version, so this one can be taken apart very easily, unlike the US version. So here is the standard US release compared to this release from India. As you can see, the face sculpt is, or the paint apps on the faces are completely different from each other. Here they are both in their disguises, and the mask on the US version is made of more of like a rubbery material, so it's kind of soft and flexible. The one on the Indian version right there is hard. It's like made out of hard plastic. So unfortunately, you cannot use a standard Zartan backpack to put that mask in. I tried that. It won't close. The mask is too hard, and the backpack won't close all the way, because I do have an actual Zartan backpack. But still unfortunate. But as you can see, the paint apps on the mask are a little bit different too. The mustache and the beard is painted a little bit differently. There's a different color. The Indian version is black. The standard US release is like a brown color. In the Indian version, there's actually a rarer version that has the top of the arm right here black, like the armor bits. That's more of a rare version. Now, one figure I did omit from the display is I do have an extra, Fun School Zartan here. As you can see, it's got a broken thumb, so I omitted that one from this display. Now, in 2007, we have this version right here from the 25th anniversary line, which is just basically an updated version of that vintage version 1 figure from '84. And now this figure does not have the color changing plastic, although they did release one with color changing plastic in the form of this figure right here. Unfortunately, I didn't put him in the display area because he's got really loose legs. He won't stand up very good. But so this one has a rifle there. It did come with a chameleon swamp skier, and see it's very undersized for this figure. And this one has the mask gimmick like the other ones. This one, the backpack doesn't want to stay on as good as the others. That one's got a little bit of a loose leg too, but it opens like so. And you have two different masks in this backpack. You have a Storm Shadow mask and a Duke mask. These masks both work the same way as a vintage figure. You take and put it up underneath the hood, which is a little bit harder to do with this one. You just drop his rifle. So it's really equipped in there. This figure is harder to get the mask to go on straight. So there he is with the Duke mask on. You can take that off and you can put the Storm Shadow mask on, which goes on a lot easier. So now he has got a Storm Shadow disguise. Like I said, like with the vintage figure, he's still in the same outfit, so that's not much of a disguise, but it's still a pretty fun gimmick. This figure, I also forgot to mention, does have a removable knife here, unlike the vintage one, so he has a removable knife there. That's one thing I liked about these 25th anniversary figures. They have working sheaths and holsters and stuff, unlike the vintage ones. So now in 2010, I think when this figure is released, this is the Pursuit of Cobra Zartan. And Pursuit of Cobra was like a sub line that came out like I think in 2010. And I also have Rakondo from this sub line, and I bought Zartan because I've always been a fan of the character. And this figure has the kind of the generic Zartan look there, but it's a little more stylized. It's not exactly like the vintage figure, so it's a little bit different. And he does have the disguise gimmick, but the disguise gimmick of this figure is actually quite a bit different. And you can see that backpack he's got on his back there. Part of his disguise is actually in there. You can store it in there, kind of like the vintage one. And as you can see, he comes with rifle. We got the stick here with the eagle on it. As you can see, the eagle's got like a removable helmet on it, so that's pretty neat there. And this figure does have a disguise method, so I will show you that. So here he is in his disguise, and as you can see, that's quite a bit different. I mean, still a lot of the same outfit on, but now he's wearing a different vest, and he's got a completely different head there. As you can see, without the the Zartan stuff in front of it. You can see the standard head and this piece. As you can see, now he's actually he looks more disguised. You wouldn't think this would be Zartan, so that's pretty. That's one thing I like about this figure. He has an actual good disguise. Last but not least, we have the 6-inch classified Zartan, and I was really excited when they revealed this figure. That's just the first version they made. They made two different other versions of this figure. There was a there was a Comic-Con exclusive version that had color changing skin, and then there was another version too. But like I said, this was the first release, and this is a pretty cool figure. It looks a lot like the vintage figure. It has the same kind of backpack with the mask and everything, and they've also made both his siblings, in the classified line. They made Xandar, which I do not have yet, and they also made Serena, which I do have. So pretty neat there. And so when I get Xandar, I'll probably review all three of these. And so I'll probably get Xandar to go with both of these. I have the vintage Xandar too. So let me move Serena out of the way. And this one, like I said, it has the backpack like the vintage figure. This one comes apart in two different halves instead of one, and you have the mask like the vintage version, so you can peg all this back together, put this back on his back here, and as you can see, he's got the mask like the vintage one, and you can remove the hood on this figure too, like on that Indian version. You can put the mask on and then reinstall his hood. So now you have kind of like a disguised version here, as you can see, kind of like the vintage one, still in the same outfit and stuff, but still pretty neat, and all these armor bits and stuff are cool in this figure. I like this knife he comes with too. It's a really cool looking knife. So I'll get into all the details on this figure when we go take a look at him. I like his belt buckle there too, and his boots are cool too. But like I said, when we go to do a full length review on this figure, I'll get into the details and stuff then. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. That'll help me a lot. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Till next time.